Hey guys, how's it going? Corey here. We're going to do a little lesson on how to play my version of Crazy by Gnarls Barkley. Posted this video a few years ago and it's become my most popular video, and yeah, so I've got a lot of requests from people on Facebook and on YouTube messaging me about tabs, which there is a tab now on the description. There's a link that you can go to, and but I get a lot of requests for tutorial videos like this, kind of like how to play the song, the style that I use and stuff, like little things that maybe don't get explained through reading a tab, or some people have trouble reading a tab as well and don't even want to do it that way. So I guess this is for those people, and I'm going to try to make some videos as well for Voodoo Child and The Way You Make Me Feel, and hopefully a couple of others that I would get requests for as well. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this for all you guitar players out there. So yeah, so let's start with the very first chord of the song. It's a G minor chord. I play it a little differently than, you know, your standard bar chord. You can play it that way, or you can play it with the middle finger playing the root note on the G, the 3rd fret. Mute the A string. The D string is open. The G string is at the 3rd fret with your ring finger, and then the B string is also at the 3rd fret with your pinky finger, and your 1st finger is free. And the high E string is muted as well. So I like to do it this way because then I can also play a G6 chord simply by lifting the 3rd finger and placing the 1st finger down at the 2nd fret on the G string, which I do a couple of times in the song. You sort of hear that transition between those two chords. Has a cool sound. So that is the G minor, and then the F chord is the next one. I play it a little differently as well. Again, instead of playing it like a bar chord with your 1st finger playing across the 1st fret, I play it with my thumb on the top root note. The reason why I do this, again, is just so that I can do this little variation where I lift my middle finger to play a F6 chord. Something like that. So I lift my middle finger on the G string. And then the next chord is pretty standard C minor 7 chord. So that's barring from the 5th string down at the 3rd fret, and then playing the ring finger on the D string at the 5th fret, and then the middle finger on the B string at the 4th fret. And then that lets your pinky be free to do kind of these other little things on the high E string, either at the 5th fret or at the 6th fret. So if you add those notes to the chord, it just kind of spices it up a little bit. I think I do that as well. I do a little riff like that, or I just stab that chord. So really nice sounds to use. And then the last chord of the main progression is a D7. Again, pretty standard positioning. You're just playing the 5th fret from the 5th string, the A string down, barring, and then ring finger at the 7th fret, D string, pinky at the 7th fret, B string. And then the last variation that I do on that chord is just shifting the pinky over to the 8th fret, 1 fret above, which turns it into kind of like I guess a sus4 chord, or an add 11 chord, however you want to think about it. So it'd be like a D7 add 11. Really nice sound. So those are basically the first 4 chords and the main chords of the song. There is that turnaround after the chorus where you go to the G major 7, a little different. Instead of going to the G minor, you do the G major 7. The G major 7 is, I'm playing it pretty standard again, just playing the root, this time with the 1st finger, muting the A string, D string 4th fret with the ring finger, G string 4th fret with the pinky, B string 3rd fret with the middle finger, and then the high E string is muted as well. So there's that chord. And then other than that, I think those are all the chords to the progression. And then I can talk a little bit about the rhythm, the strumming. sort of the feel throughout, and that's basically just down, down, up, and then kind of like this muted strumming, up, down, up, with you're just releasing the pressure with your left hand, kind of using the first finger as well, just kind of using all 4 fingers to block the sound, so you get that clicky strum kind of sound. Come back in with the strumming after the up, down, up, up. Yeah, that little thing as well. Kind of slide in from the 1st fret to the C minor 7 chord. And then sliding again as well to the D7. And then sliding back to the 1st chord, back to the G chord. After the D7, the middle finger is kind of free already, and you can slide back to that 1st chord. And so those little slides and stuff, they just add a little bit more flair and style to it. And that's basically it. So that goes for the chords anyway. I'll talk a little bit about the solo. Can get a little trickier here for sure. So, but I can kind of talk about a little bit how I think about orchestrating this or composing a solo like this. I'm pretty sure that time I for the most part improvised it. But in a way, it's sort of like you're not improvising it because you know what you can do over certain chords. Then once you kind of know how to play in this style that I use to solo over most of the things that I do, you'll kind of notice a common thread of using my thumb a lot. Sort of similar to Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, they do that a lot as well, or I think John Mayer as well does that quite a bit. So, which can be tricky if you're not used to it, if you're used to the more classical position, using your 1st finger to do everything. Using the thumb can be quite a stretch or quite a change up. So. If that's something you want to try, it's definitely interesting. It frees you up to do a lot of things that you couldn't normally do, where you can play a lot of rhythm and lead stuff at the same time, or you can be your own bass player almost. So yeah, I recommend trying it out anyway and seeing what you can do. So the solo starts out with a slide on the low E string, going from the 1st fret to the 3rd fret with the thumb. And then using your 1st finger to bar the minor 3rd kind of triad, I guess, there on the bottom 3 strings of the 3rd fret with an upstroke. You just stab it like that and let it go, kind of reggae style. And then you have a little riff there on the G string. And that little riff is at the 5th fret. It's a really quick kind of slide that I go back and forth at the G string, and that's 5th fret, 6th fret, and then pulling off back to the 3rd fret, and then doing another pull off 5th fret to 3rd fret after, and then D string pull off 5 to 3, A string slide back and forth 4 to 5, 4 to 5. And then you do the thing again. So you do that little root note with the thumb, stab the minor chord on the bottom, and then sliding with the 3rd finger from 6 to 8 to on the B string to the final higher root note. And then the picking technique when you're doing that slide is important as well. Instead of kind of just doing and hitting just the string, just the single B string, you can stomp into it with a rake. You can do like a little, if I can get it there. But when you do it really quick, it's really powerful and aggressive and punchy, and that's sort of the whole point. Again, very Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of physical way of playing guitar. And if you want to give it some vibrato as well. So it's the 8, 6 on the B string, and then again that little slide 5, 6, 5, and ending at the 3rd fret on the G. And then, so that's sort of how I'm thinking about that G part, the G minor, basically just playing the G minor scale. That's sort of how I'm thinking about that, or the Aeolian mode. So basically anything that I can do, I try to be able to grab this chord with my thumb and the 1st finger as quickly as possible, and then try and stay in rhythm. Always coming back to that root, always coming back to that chord, that sound. I want to be able to grab that really, really easily, and then do all the pentatonic or minor scale stuff I can, all my little ideas in between, and then always coming back to that chord, and then that allows me to play rhythm and lead at the same time. And it's the same philosophy with the next chord. I go to the F chord next. Same thing, thumb on top. This time I'm getting a major chord on the bottom 3 strings at 2 on the G, 1 and 1 on the B and E string with the 1st finger barring, kind of like just an F chord. And then the scale that I'm using there is essentially the same. It's G minor, but because the way that I think about it is F mixolydian, so that would be like. And I don't know, the reason why I think about that way sort of has to do with, I guess, is it Joe Satriani's technique of pitch axis theory, where he kind of thinks about things that way. That might be getting a little bit too complicated. I can't remember where I started thinking about things that way. You can think about it just as G minor, or as it's basically B flat major as well, is really the root of all of this. Again, that might be getting a little bit too technical, but that is how I think about it. And then, so then the riff there, pretty sure that's sort of what I do. So again, sort of hitting the root note with the thumb, upstroke on the chord, and it's just sort of an ascending lick there. 2, 3 on the G, 1 on the B, 3, 4 on the B. There's a couple little pull-offs in there. Again, just go to the tab, look at the tab if you need to get the exact notes. Same thing, kind of going to the E string. And sliding to the A there at the 5th fret on the high E string. And then now I'm sort of back into G minor again. That's 5, 6, 5, 3, 5. I'm just sort of climbing up, I'm trying to get higher and higher to the next chords. And I make it a little bluesy there on that bend at the C, on the high E string, 8th fret. Bending up, just a half bend, pull off to the 6th fret, and then another pull off. And then we're going to go to the next part at the C minor chord. And so now I'm thinking, this is all again back to B flat major scale, which would translate to C Dorian. Just the same scale as G minor, as F mixolydian, B flat major, C Dorian. So what do I do here? I'm using just sort of a major 7 chord. This would be like a, what would it be, an E flat major 7? And that's just 13, 12, 11, 10 on the D string, G string, B string, E string. And that's just it's really quite an easy jazz riff. You're just doing like a downstroke sweep through those notes, and then you lift your fingers off to play this little pull off at the 13th fret to the 10th fret, and then back reverse through that same thing. sort of descending on the D string, 13, 12, 10, 8, to get back to that C Dorian scale. And then sliding up to the D, and then back down from 10 to 8 on the G string. And then another little riff. Sorry, and then now I'm back to sort of that C Dorian shape at the 7th fret on the G string. And then just a little legato run from 7, 8, 10, and then to the B string, 8, 10, 11. So that whole thing starts out again with that C minor thumb slide with the first finger chord, just like we did at the G minor. And then for the final thing on the D7 shape, I'm getting this D. Wait, what do I do? And same thing, I'm just thumb slide with the first finger. You can get either the major triad or just the bottom 2 strings. It gets a little trickier with the, at least on my guitar, getting my hand positioned to do that thumb chord thing. I'm sort of at the limit there at the 10th fret. It's alright. Something like that. Basically what I'm thinking about when I'm playing that is D harmonic minor. And I add this weird note in there too. I don't know what that makes, how that changes the scale. Instead of playing that, which would be in the harmonic. Actually, no, this isn't. This is actually D Phrygian dominant. So the Phrygian mode, but with the, instead of playing the flat third, we play the natural third. So that might be something you can look up, the Phrygian dominant scale or mode. But I do something extra to it. Instead of playing this note, instead of playing this note, the C, I actually play the C sharp. And that, I mean, that's a really tricky run. There's a lot of stretching going on there. I'll do that really, really slowly and up close, maybe so you can see that. Sliding in. There. And then I'm back into this position. Really difficult thing to do. It's slowing things down in a way where you can see what I'm doing. So I apologize if that's still too fast. Again, the tab is there. You can look at specifically which notes I'm playing. But that's sort of how I'm thinking about it, which is more important really to think about that. So each chord you have a certain kind of scale and position on the neck that is available to you based on where the chord is, where your fingers are. And then you have the scale. So if it's G minor, I'm thinking G Aeolian. If it's F major, I'm thinking F Mixolydian. If it's C minor, I'm thinking C Dorian. And then when it resolves on the D7 chord, I can change the whole framework of the mode for that one note. Instead of it being the F normally, I can play the F sharp, because that is the key note that is making the D7. It's creating that tension. So that's maybe a little bit of music theory that might be over your head. It might not. It might kind of clear some things up for you, or whatever. It might just be, you know, like I'm speaking Chinese or something. So it doesn't really matter. It's the sound. You want to really get the sound happening. And so yeah, that's basically it. And then after that, once you're done that practice, you can just slide your pinky right back and then land into that chord. And then you're landing in the G major 7 chord again. And that is the finish, or the end of the solo. So some of that might have been super convoluted, and I apologize. But that's essentially what's going on in Crazy. And so if you have any other questions, just message me on Facebook. That's usually a better place to get at me. I tend not to message people back so much on YouTube. And then, yeah, I'll get to you on Facebook if you have any other questions about specifically what's going on there. If you're not sure where to get the tab, it is in the link in the description. And yeah, so keep watching the videos, guys. I appreciate all your support, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take it easy.